To begin today talking about the learning process and brain research, I would like for you to take a minute and within your small groups talk about what you think constitutes or makes up the learning process. In a few minutes, we will reconvene as a large group and we will share those ideas. So the relationship between teaching and learning is one that is connected. The properties and procedures of both teaching and learning do directly impact the other. The attitude of the teacher can affect how well a learner learns, or the inverse as well. The attitude of the learner can affect how well the teacher teaches. It is crucial for educators to get to know his or her students, to foster that learning environment so that learning can occur authentically. We're looking for students who trust and respect their teachers because they often have a positive affect in the classroom, just as teachers who respect and encourage students tend to positively affect the classroom. So that is part of the learning process. So what is knowledge and what is understanding? Are they the same thing? I'm going to give you a minute for you to discuss again at your small groups, and then feel free to share out. Another point that educators need to bear in mind is while knowledge and understandings are often used interchangeably within the classroom, they are two different processes. Understanding requires that students do more or produce more. Understanding often lends itself to transfer of knowledge. It's when students actively do the work. If the task is to have the students read a passage, then they are transferring their knowledge of decoding, comprehension, and fluent reading and applying it to the new work. A question that often comes up in the learning process is, are student misunderstandings evidence of teacher failure? And the answer is simply no. Misunderstandings give educators an opportunity to see what might not be clear to the students. We as the experts often have a blind spot because we know what the answers are. And student misunderstandings simply give us that opportunity to see that while we thought the lesson might be clear, we need to go back and we need to clarify. Another facet of the learning process is technology integration. When integrating technology into learning, the deeper you ingrain students into the process, the more ownership students take in their learning. For example, if a teacher is offering an entry-level opportunity for technology integration in the lesson, the teacher would then have the majority of the ownership for learning, as students would be introduced to the skill, much like Bloom's taxonomy. Educators who effectively integrate technology within a lesson tend to increase student engagement within the learning process. Another often overlooked facet of the learning process is the classroom environment. You might be asking yourself, what does the environment have to do with the learning process? Well, the environment in which educators create correlates directly with how effectively students will learn. Students need to feel nurtured, comfortable, and free from the fear of threat. As mentioned earlier, misunderstandings are a part of the learning process, but to students to whom school is an opportunity to practice socialization, the classroom must be a safe space in which to exercise the mind and make mistakes without the fear of teasing from peers or in some unfortunate cases, the teacher. Students cannot learn when a threat is present, thus why we need to have a safe classroom environment. We know that the brain is instead hardwired for fight or flight when a threat is present. and the brain needs to focus on how best to extract the student from that situation. So it's really crucial that our classrooms be welcoming and safe. So we've been talking a lot about the learning process, but what we haven't talked a whole lot about yet is brain research. And brain research is really crucial when talking about how students learn. So let's take a minute here, share at your groups, what do you already know about the brain? Brain research, we know, is pivotal to learning. So educators must understand how and why the brain works so that they are best able to facilitate and support student learning. We know that there are 4 key principles to brain research. The idea is that the brain is sculpted from experience, the brain seeks meaningful patterns, emotion is a catalyst for learning, and that there are 2 types of memory. So these 4 key principles can assist us as educators in changing the way that we approach learning. So if we were to create an emotional experience, for example, we would want to use a hands-on learning opportunity. Because in this type of learning, the student remembers the way that they felt and the experience for much longer than traditional lecture-style teaching. Brain research has also taught us that the 2 best ways to foster learning is 1, to connect new learning to prior knowledge, and to use hands-on learning to engage students. By standing in front of the class modeling how to write an essay, by thinking out loud, sharing the thought process behind the writing, I am best able to show students what they already know about writing, but also what that process would look like. The brain is prepared to imitate an action it's already observed, so by having students active and engaged, whether through a modeling process or through simulation of their own, they are best hardwired to create new learning.